यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी
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 गोपी जन वल्लभ वरदारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदनन्दन भज जननन्दन
यशोदनन्दन भज जननन्दन
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी
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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Naya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe.
Naya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra.
Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra.
Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Giri Govardhan.
Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Giri Govardhan.
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Nitya Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitya Gora Hari Bo
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Nam Sankirtana ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda
Jai
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagrana Raghunathamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Vaidana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, what chapter are we in? 14. What did we discuss last week? Hint. Next week I'm going to ask what did we discuss this week? So what did we talk about last week? Everyone's scrambling to find the verse. What verses did we discuss last week? Let's start there.
Chapter 14 and 15.
14 and 15, yes. Who said that? Oh, I cannot see. You're hiding. Oh, Oh.
Prabhu, please sit and run.
Yeah, please come forward, everyone, so we can see. So what did we discuss in 14 and 15?
Where people go based on their modes
Where
When
people
they-
go
when they die.
when they die. That's the, they don't like to talk about death, but the reality is life is but a preparation for death. That's just the reality. Because what we do in this life determines where we go next. Right? And so if one dies in the mode of goodness, where do they go?
Higher planets.
Higher planets. And if one dies in the mode of passion,
Back here.
back here. Material world? Heavenly planets are material world or spiritual world?
Material.
That's also material. Okay? So they come back to the earthly planets, the Bhuloka. And what happens if we die in the mode of ignorance?
Oh, hellish.
Animal.
The animal
Oh,
kingdom.
animal.
The animal kingdom. Yeah, which can be in different areas. So, do we just get to pick what we want to do and do what we feel like? Actually, we do get to pick. But the result, do we get to pick? No. The result is forced upon us by the modes of material nature. Right? So studying the modes of material nature illuminate how one should shape their activities. So one's activities are in, the different modes when they are on the material platform. Okay? So we said, even if one is in the mode of goodness, have they achieved perfection by going to the heavenly planets? What did we compare it to last time? A-class jail cell. It's better than the B-class cells or the C-class cells, but it's still jail. Can we say one has accomplished all that there is to be accomplished if one has graduated from the C-class to the A-class jail cell?
If all one knows is jail cells, then yes.
That wasn't the question.
Okay.
The question was, can one say they've achieved all that can be achieved? One may believe they have, through ignorance, which we'll talk about. But the reality is, they haven't accomplished much. In the grand scheme of things, we've making a small step. So even coming to the mode of goodness is the beginning point. And that is what Krishna is going to tell us in a few verses. That one must transcend the modes, get beyond the modes. Mode of goodness is better than passion, passion better than ignorance. But better than goodness is pure goodness, Shuddha Shakti. One must come to the platform of devotional service. Then one can find this perfection of life, this real peace and happiness that we all want. So by studying the modes, we can at least start to make our way to the mode of goodness. But from there, we must take to the next step, which is devotional service. And as practicing devotees, aspiring devotees, what we find is that even in our devotional service, there are tinges of modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness within it. And so as we try to purify our bhakti, to come to the platform of pure devotional service, having, sometimes they think, I'm, not even worried about mode of ignorance, and well, it's not relevant to me. Well, actually, these impurities reside also in our practice of devotional service. So it's a means for us to try to, analyze and understand and diagnose. That probably wasn't the most purest, approach in my devotional service. Let me work to elevate to the higher states, right? So that's even for aspiring devotees who have come to the commitment or conclusion that bhakti is my path. Still, there is great value in understanding these modes of material nature. So let us read verse 16. As I recall, I believe this purport is a little heavy. So brace yourself, and we'll discuss. So someone wants to read the verse, and then we'll take some turns reading purports. I think there's 3 or 4 paragraphs here, so a little bit longer of a purport. You can read just English also, no problem.
Go ahead.
कर्मणा सुकृतस्याहु सात्विकं निर्मलं फलं राजसस्तु फलं दुःखम् अज्ञानं तामसाफलम्. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness, but action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness.
Purport? Someone wants to read the first paragraph?
And
Go ahead, Prabhu.
as already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as
Where are you? 14, 16.
I'm in 15, what am I doing?
Next one, yeah, no problem.
I was reading the Sanskrit and not listening to what was being said.
No problem. 579.
So the result of pious activities in the mode of goodness is pure. Therefore, sages who are free from all illusions are situated in happiness. But activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. If, for example, one wants to have a skyscraper, so much human misery has to be undergone before a big skyscraper can be built. The financier has to take much trouble to earn a massive wealth, and those who are slaving to construct the building have to render physical toil. The miseries are there. Thus, Bhagavad Gita says that in any activity performed under the spell of the mode of passion, there is definitely great misery. There may be a little so-called mental happiness. I have this house or this money, but this is not actual happiness. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities result in present misery, and afterwards he will go on toward animal life. Animal life is always miserable, although under the spell of the illusory energy, Maya, animals do not understand this. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of the state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there's a complete state controlled by the Supreme. There's a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is a son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant's being killed. One has to pay for it. So, indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. A human being has no need to kill animals because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it is to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk. Cow slaughter is an act of grossest type of ignorance. In the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 9.464, the words gopi, prinitamatsaram indicate that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous of killing the cow, indicate that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous of killing the cow, is in the grossest ignorance. There is also a prayer in the Vedic literature that states, should I go on?
Someone else can read the last paragraph.
नमो ब्रह्मण्य देव्याय गोब्रह्मणहिताय च जगत्पिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. Vishnu Purana 1.19.65. The purport is that special mention is given in that prayer for the protection of the cows and the brahmanas. Brahmanas are the symbol of spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food. Those two living creatures, the Brahmanas and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood then that human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next life is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care of to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger.
So just read the verse again that says, the result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and the action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. So we can actually read this verse in conjunction with 17, which gives the intermediate step. So from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. So from knowledge, that leads to then the purity that is referred to in verse 16. From the mode of passion, greed develops. So this greed is what leads to then ultimately the misery that is referred to from the mode of passion in verse 16. And then from the mode of ignorance develops foolishness, madness, and illusion, which is pretty similar to the result. So if you see, this is 17 is the intermediate step that generates the results that are described here in 16. So discuss each of them briefly. So the results of pious action, what results for the pious action?
Purity.
Purity. Right? And what type of purity, or what is the, we talked earlier about, one in the mode of goodness has their 9 gates illuminated by knowledge, right? So how does this purity manifest? In what sense do we say pure? Do they have very clean bodies? They use Dove soap and they're very clean, their ears are clean. Is that the purity we're speaking of?
Not getting knowledge.
Huh?
Getting knowledge.
What kind of knowledge? Karma kanda knowledge, right? Not bhakti, not devotional knowledge. Because that's, again, mode of goodness is material. Bhakti is transcendental, right? So that's why we want to be very careful with the distinction of the knowledge and the purity we're speaking about, right? Is one in the mode of goodness, is Advaita in pure devotional service and Abhilashi Chashunyam Gyana Karmani Nahitam? No. It is not pure bhakti. That is Shuddha Sattva. It is pure goodness. This is Sattva Gun, the material mode of goodness. Okay? So what type of knowledge we have? Karma Kanda. What does that mean?
Vedic rituals. How to live pious. How to avoid the sinful actions.
How to avoid the sinful actions, right? So one has acquired an understanding of how to avoid sinful reactions within the material world. So one is inclined to enjoy their senses, right? But they're doing it in a regulated way. So we call it regulated sense enjoyment, right? I want to enjoy, but I know I can't just pick and choose what I want to do because there's reactions, laws of karma. So I'll study the Shastra and understand how is it that I can enjoy to the fullest in a regulated way. What yagyas will take me to the higher planetary systems? What types of worship will allow me to obtain a longer life, a more beautiful body, more wealth, these sorts of things. And I follow according to that, sort of set of instructions. Right? So the purity that we're referring to is they're free from the sinful reactions. But as we know, every step in this material world we are incurring sinful reactions. So it is not pure in the absolute sense, but relative to mode of passion and ignorance, they are relatively free from these reactions. Right? So it's a better state to be in, and the result, Srila Prabhupada says, is they're in happiness. right? They are, Prabhupada says, in the mode of ignorance, therefore, they are situated in happiness. But how does this happiness compare to the happiness in bhakti and devotional service?
Temporary.
It's temporary
Limited.
and limited. Those are the two characteristics of any material happiness. It's temporary and it's limited. And we say that the amount of happiness in the whole that you can extract from the entire material universe, if you try to quantify it or characterize it, you would say it's the amount of water that can accumulate in the hoof print of a calf. Not even a cow, a calf. And how much happiness is in devotional service is compared to an ocean. And how much water is in an ocean compared to how much water is in a hoof print of a calf? Can you even compare them? So like that, that's how we get just a reference point of how much more bliss is available. You know, so then we can understand it, right? Like, you know, the A-class jail cell members, they had more happiness than the C-class jail cell, no doubt. They have better facilities. But how do they compare to those on the other side of the prison wall, the free? It's not even comparable. But like that, this mode of goodness that we're speaking about, it is also extremely limited. So we should understand that it doesn't even compare to a fraction of the bhakti rasa, the sweetness of devotional service. That ananda is eternal and unlimited. Complete opposite of material happiness, which is limited and temporary. Okay? Now, Prabhupada, Krishna says, action done in a mode of goodness. What is the result of that? In a mode of passion.
Greed.
Well, what's the initial result? Misery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you a question. Anybody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, today I'm going to do a bunch of activities that will make me miserable? Anybody wants to do that?
Not anyone sane.
Not anybody sane, yes. Right? But when we look at the world around us, every day people are waking up and endeavoring with so much energy and enthusiasm, primarily in the mode of passion. And what is the result?
Misery.
Just once in a while?
No,
Just every third day? Only on Friday the 13th?
no, like a constant foreboding cloud of misery.
A constant foreboding cloud of misery. That's a good one. Yeah, it's like a relentless thunderstorm, right? It just, you think it's got to end. There can't be that much water up there. And it just keeps downpouring. And that's the craziness of this, is that we have experienced it over and over and over and over again. But one continues endeavoring due to greed. Greed. The greed is like, it's you know, unless one applies devotional principles, it's inconquerable. Greed is so strong, you need something even stronger to smash it. And the only thing that is stronger is devotional service, right? So this mode of passion, and Prabhupada gives a very, you know, nice example of the skyscraper. You know, this is obviously written in the eras where skyscrapers were becoming, you know, quite phenomenal in their development, and there was great, you know, admiration, and countries were competing. I have the tallest building in the world, and there was great national pride and engineering pride, and at the end of the day, what was the result? Not much, you know, and so much effort and endeavor goes into it. And we see, you know, our work weeks are structured. I mean, we always talk about this in our Journey of Self-Discovery seminar. You know, we have to work 5 days a week just to try to enjoy 2 on the weekends. Why isn't it flipped? You know, 2 days of work and finally think, oh, this would be great.
Big movement talking about that kind of thing right now.
But it's not going to help it. It's not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to help. Because those 2 days and a weekend, how much are we really enjoying?
You know, you're cramming in all your errands and so on.
Yeah, you have no time. We're so much advancement in technology, so much advancement in things that are supposed to make our life better, easier, more time, right? Yet we find ourselves with less time. All right, because we've got more greed, and that greed never goes satisfied. Right? So the mode of passion is very, very clear as a result, but we can see actually, you know, when Prabhupada makes the statement, well, we'll come to that statement in a minute, but how misguided, you know, we are as a society. I mean, it's staggering. But it gets even worse when we talk about ignorance, right? What is the result of ignorance? Foolishness. What's the definition of foolishness? Okay, doing the same dumb thing over and over again. What else?
Thinking right thing as wrong thing as right.
Ooh, I like that. So thinking what is right is actually wrong, and thinking what is wrong is actually right. That's pretty good about mode of ignorance, right? Someone in the mode of ignorance says, hey, on a Friday night, let's sit and enjoy Krishna Prasadam and read Bhagavad Gita in front of beautiful Gaurita and Srila Prabhupada and everything. I'll be at the bar. That's fun. Right? They think this is the word. Complete opposite. That's a good one. What else? What are some other ideas of foolishness?
Seeing somebody falling into a ditch, but you still follow him.
I love it. You see somebody fall into a ditch and you follow them. You know, the lemmings, right? Of Madagascar, isn't that what they are? Right? You see someone struggling, and what do? We just go right behind them and follow. Right? That is a lot of society, right? Society says I should accumulate more wealth, I should try to enjoy myself. Well, I guess I gotta get on board with that and figure out the best I can do without taking some time back to think. What is the result of all of that? Any other? That's some good definitions of foolishness. Any other definitions of foolishness? Your brother? Yeah, he's spoken like a younger brother. So, Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example in the purport. Very stark example. And what example does he give?
The skyscraper one?
That was for the passion, but foolishness.
Foolishness is
Huh?
Animal slaughter.
Animal slaughter.
Yeah.
How is that foolish?
because any reasonable analysis would conclude that there's going to be some kind of reaction from that.
Yeah. And what's the actual reaction?
The animal becomes the killer.
Get the chance in the future life.
To kill you. So let me ask, is there anything more foolish than I'm going to slit the throat of an animal today, and I know that that animal tomorrow, or whatever definition tomorrow is going to slit my throat?
But they don't know.
What's that?
But they don't know.
Well, that's true, but that's the responsibility to know.
Mm-hmm. Ignorance is no defense from the law.
Ignorance is not bliss. It is ignorance. So foolishness, you cannot get more foolish than that. Yeah, just to satisfy my tongue, I am setting myself up to be killed. that is, we can say in some ways the epitome of foolishness.
Some of these people are just hardcore brainwashed to think that they need to eat that thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is societal,
that they
cultural.
they grew up poor, they couldn't find meat, and now they can finally afford it, and you're telling them they can't have it, and they tell you go jump in a lake because they've been waiting their whole life for this.
Well, that's why. Who does Srila Prabhupada hold accountable in the purport? If you read very
Nations.
Yeah.
I was gonna.
He writes a very wonderful statement towards the end of this purport that is very telling. And what does he say? Any statement towards the end jump out at you?
Yeah, the one about the last.
Go ahead, read that one. Yeah.
The last sentence. Is that what you mean?
No.
A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next lives is certainly not a human civilization.
Yes. So, the civilization which guides the citizens, right? The social norms, the customs, the culture, whatever culture we want to talk about, that promotes this type of activity, to some degree, we can have great compassion for one who is, born into a culture, a society that this is what all I've known since I was, 1 year old. I don't know any better. Right? So we can have great compassion. But leaders of society, they have a responsibility to lead for the betterment of society. And that is why the leaders must lead on an informed basis, not on a whimsical basis. And the informed basis is on the basis of Shastra. Okay? And so Srila Prabhupada, writes very importantly that this civilization, he cannot even call it a human civilization. It's quite a strong statement, right? But if we really analyze it, he's right. Because the humans today, tomorrow, are going to become animals. And any civilization that guides in such foolishness is not civilized. Right? So our definition of civilization has become very twisted. Right? We in 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's an amazing set of predictions of how things will progress during Kali Yuga. And it's startling how true they are. Mm-hmm. How people will choose spouses. What is the definition of success? All these things, and you read them and you're like, wow, this was, written obviously thousands of years ago in paper, but originally at the beginning of the creation. And today we see it becoming, true. So this mode of ignorance, it is, when Srila Prabhupada says, the society is operating basically in the mode of passion and ignorance completely, and sometimes we get, that seems a little out. In reality, it's true. It's absolutely true. Look at the number of activities that are performed in the mode of ignorance. How much, animal slaughter there is. How much intoxication there is. You cannot drive on a freeway today without being bombarded by marijuana billboards. Gambling. Now you cannot go another, mile on the freeway without another gambling.
Oh, it's this online gambling that really freaked me out when I started seeing that, because that doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere good.
That's Kali Yuga. It used to be at least difficult to perform some of these sinful activities.
Yeah, now it's right in your.
Back in the day in India, if you wanted to intoxicate, it used to be very difficult. You'd have to really work at it. Now
go down a back alley somewhere.
Yeah. So that's the progression of Kali Yuga. This is the advancement of society. And what is the result of all of this? Sinful reactions, just building our stockpile. So this is the reality. And so what do we do about it?
Well, I was curious about the last sentence in the purport. So, all nations, it's a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process. So, in Srila Prabhupada's estimation, it's the nation's responsibility to provide the process to the people. From what I'm reading, if I'm reading this literally.
Always. The leaders, if the leaders of today's society understood the laws, and these are unequivocal laws, you'll know that the leader of any society, they accrue 6% of all the sinful reactions of all the citizens of the society they're ruling.
Mm-hmm.
And they also accrue 6% of the piety. Now, who wants to be president of the United States of America?
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah.
But that system is there because the great leaders, the Rajarshis, the kings, who were like rishis, they were so well guided by the intelligent brahmanas that they facilitated society to be able to practice real human civilization.
So by provide, he means facilitate.
Yeah, everything, the means, the laws.
At least not getting in the way of it. That would be a good start.
That would be at least a half step towards neutrality. But they must go much further. They must propagate and educate the citizens.
So the ISKCON is just a stopgap measure until the nations actually start doing this for people.
Well, it's ISKCON and the spiritual movement is there to cultivate this consciousness from the grassroots up and also from the top down, both. Because it's, as Prabhupada said, we have to declare all-out war on Maya. Why does all this happen? It's Maya, it's illusion, right? It's not that, our neighbors actually understand, as we said, they're in ignorance. It's illusion. They're illusion to think that this is the path of perfection. That's why I said this is a very heavy purport, so we get very critical. But it's the reality of the situation we're in, and it's the opportunity we have, to share this knowledge, and this information can be shared very broadly, in terms that are even palatable. Maybe not in the terms of how the Bhagavad Gita is presenting it to everybody, but you can ask a simple question. If we take just this one activity, and again, we're just picking on one activity, meat eating, but it's not the only. But if you take the activity of meat eating and just simply ask the question, are you willing to slit the throat of the animal that you're eating right now? Most, not all. Most or not. Just ask that simple question. Get people to start thinking introspectively about the actions. Again, because otherwise we're on cruise control, just going through the motions of what society has said is okay and palatable. Right? So this information, this knowledge, it can be presented on a very broad basis. They might have to get adjusted, but ultimately they must come to the point of Krishna consciousness. Because again, ultimately, even in the mode of goodness, it is the A-class jail cell. No one's life effort, if you're a prison administrator, the prison administrator's goal is to reform so that people can re-enter society productively. That is the goal of any prison administrator, at least any righteous prison administrator. Right? So, Krishna consciousness is the ultimate step that one must come to overcome this. And as we see again in the next verse about this greed, right? This greed is what fuels the passion, and this madness and illusion what fuels ignorance, activities of mode of ignorance. We were talking about intoxication. I mean, think about how foolish it is, the consumption of alcohol. How many brain cells, just biologically, how many good decisions have been made when one has been intoxicated? How many relationships have been broken because of intoxication? How many deaths occur every day on the roads because of intoxication? Just alcohol. Yet it's become like a societal norm of celebration. Right? A baby is born, we pop a bottle of champagne. So it's clearly very foolish. Drugs, cigarettes. It says on the packet, this will kill you. But you do it. Foolishness. Complete foolishness. Full mode of ignorance. Right? Same thing with gambling and illicit relationships. You can go down the line. Right? Again, separating the Vedic spiritual part of it, just the social norms of it. Imagine a society that was free of all drunk driving, all intoxicated related violence. Imagine a society where no families were torn apart by one's uncontrolled gambling of the family's wealth. Imagine a society where there were no illicit relationships and everybody held the respect and sanctity of their relationships. Imagine the environment we would have without any animals being slaughtered. I was educated at our youth retreat that 30% of the carbon dioxide emissions comes from animal production for food. Imagine,
If you trace it farther, it's probably even more than that.
Whatever. It's huge. The point is, the societal effects of the four regulator principles are gigantic. We'd all love to live in a society like that. But our greed, our, that mode of passion doesn't allow us to obtain that benefit. So even before you get to the spiritual benefits of it, at a very basic level. So this knowledge actually, while it seems very it's actually very digestible, even, broadly. We can present it in a very powerful way. So, the four regulator principles are, society as a whole would become much better. Even if everybody was, spiritually agnostic, at least there would be less destructive activities. Yes, we might not make it, ultimately to get to our goal of this real bliss and happiness, which is why Krishna is going to tell us now, coming up in a few verses, you have to transcend the modes. You have to get beyond the modes of material nature. Because nothing within the modes is going to give you happiness.
It's pretty hard to do that if you're largely in the mode of passion or ignorance to start with, unless you have the Maha Mantra.
Well, I was going to say, Srila Prabhupada, who was he preaching to? People in the mode of goodness? Ignorance. Fully.
But still to me it's not easier if you're in the mode of goodness.
Of course, that's why Krishna is saying one should come from mode of ignorance to passion to ignorance. To goodness. And from goodness one can transcend to the higher modes. Yeah.
Even though in principle you can transcend from anywhere, it's easier, let's say.
But the point is, it's not hopeless. Though all of society is full of ignorance and passion, it's not hopeless. And that is the potency of the holy names. That is the potency of Gauranga Mahaprabhu's Mahavadanaya, most merciful. That can uplift even from the most degraded of positions, the most degraded of conditions. But first and foremost, we must recognize that the condition is degraded. Then we can make some effort to uplift it. And of course, that's an individual decision. Bhakti is so powerful. And that's why Krishna says that, this Maya, yes, it's powerful. It's very difficult to conquer this divine energy. But Mam eva ye prapadyante. If you surrender unto me, mayam etam taranti. One can easily cross over this illusion. It's not difficult. But we need a powerful resource. Let's give the example. If you go out and try to lift your car, can anyone do it? No. But if you have a hydraulic jack, then even Amrit could lift a car. Right? Because he has a powerful tool. Yeah, he himself cannot. I myself cannot. But with the right tool, he lift it. So all of these, situation, I don't know, they seem very inconquerable. You're right, they are. But by the mercy of Krishna, embedded within the holy names, becomes very conquerable, very easy. So that is our opportunity. Okay, so maybe we'll stop here. Any further discussion? We've had some nice discussion already, but anything else we can discuss? Comments, questions?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, when you talked about, you said that things is in the devotional service, you talked about ignorance and passion. And this.
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate with examples?
Yeah. We do our devotional service with the mood that I want something for it. I'm doing my devotional service so that I can get some status. It's mode of passion.
So that
It's a fruit of-
so that I can meet some girls.
That's mode of ignorance or passion, yeah. Whatever the motive other than pleasing Krishna, right? I do some I in the attempt, I see somebody is I don't know, I'm just making something up, making flower garlands, and so I'm going to take 5 flowers and put them in my garland, even though they're not mine. Is that devotional service? No, but we see that, right? Or, I'm wanting to do this service so that somebody else can't do it. It's not that I really want to do it, but I don't want that person to do it. So I'm going to do it quickly, so it's done. These things, again, the motive of that service. The motive needs to be Anukulina Krishna Anushilanam. Right? So that's what we have to work to purify. What is the catalyst? Why are we doing this devotional service? Right? When I want to do this devotional service so people realize I'm an advanced devotee now. I've achieved something. Not because I'm actually trying to please Krishna.
What about if it is intention is we do not know? Krishna is like very overwhelming. Sometimes I feel talking about pleasing Krishna. But what about pleasing the tangible person whom we see in front, the devotees of Krishna, or pleasing the Vaishnavas? Now that is something tangible and something which one can relate to. So now is that also tinged with, example, if you want, the intention is to please Vaishnavas, so is that also tinged with passion?
Well, Krishna says that I am more pleased when one tries to render service to my devotees. So by serving the Vaishnavas, you are Krishna Anushilanam. You are making Krishna very happy by serving his devotees. Because that's what Krishna says. One who serves my devotees makes me very happy. Just like any mother, right? If someone comes and serves their child, they become very happy. Someone serves them, yeah, they're happy. But if someone serves their child, they become even more happy.
So serving a god brother please the spiritual master of both.
Yeah. And the spiritual master is the external representative of the Supreme Lord, right? And so learning to love and surrender to Krishna is very difficult. So what do? we love and surrender to Guru, who teaches us how to love and surrender to Krishna. Guru is not trying to, become the monopoly of our love and surrender. By accepting our love and surrender, they're teaching us how to ultimately love and surrender to Krishna.
I'm kind of distant from my guru, but I'm getting very close to a god brother who's his disciple.
You should never be distant from your Guru. And the reason is, physical proximity is not the relationship between disciple and Guru. This is not a material relationship. This is a spiritual relationship. And physical proximity does not define our connectivity with Guru.
When I say distant, I mean infrequent contact, emails.
I'm just speaking that don't let that be a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that be an impediment to an extremely
I mean,
intimate.
it's from my end,
deep-
not his end.
No, but understand, don't let that be an impediment to your or anyone's deep, intimate relationship with their Guru. Remember, Srila Prabhupada met Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur a handful of times.
Mhm.
He did not spend months and years intimately with, but what was his connection to Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur? Unbreakable. Because this is a spiritual relationship. We remain connected to Guru by hearing their instructions, by meditating on the mercy we've received from them for connecting us to the Supreme Lord. It is a daily interaction with the spiritual master by chanting their pranam prayers, their calling out. So, in the history of relationship, remember, Guru disciples are often not frequent in physical proximity. That is the norm, not the exception. That is the norm. How many times Narottam Das Thakur personally served his guru Lokanath Swami? Very much. But he was serving Jiva Goswami under the instruction of his spiritual master. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, how many times he saw his Gurudev Ishwara Puri? So this is not something new phenomenon. So we should not let the frequency of our interaction be a barrier to our connectivity. That is, so we remain very connected to the spiritual master by meditating and remembering their glories, their listening and hearing their classes, and remembering that relation, because it is, and we read in Guru Vandana prayers every day, Divya Gyan Nirde Prakashito, that this knowledge is revealed into the heart. It is a spiritual medium. So, but that, to come back to your point, Mataji, serving the Vaishnavas is a very practical way for us to learn how to serve Krishna. Because actually we don't even know what pleases Krishna. How do I know if my service is pleasing Krishna? We don't know. So that's why we always work under guidance. So that I know, at least whoever has given me this service, if they're pleased, then I've done, what I can do. And that is how Anushilanam, in this verse, Anushilanam, what it means. It's got 4 parts to the meaning. The one part, we follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. We follow.
But how you might know, isn't it this check and balance with the Guru Sadhu Shastra? Is that one way to know if what you're doing is pleasing Krishna or not, with this check and balance system?
Yeah, but that doesn't work in the day-to-day. If I do this service, is it actually pleasing my Guru?
Mm-hmm.
Shastra is not going to tell me that.
That granularity?
Yeah, the practical application is if I'm doing my service, under the guidance, under direction, and I did my best that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
I can have comfort that Krishna was pleased. Again, Krishna is not looking for perfection. He's looking for mood, right? So, I don't know if I answered
I don't know how we got off on this.
What if I say that pleasing Vaishnavas, it always has to be in accord under the instructions. You cannot. Is there no way that you can please, but it is not. It has to be in accordance with instructions, because one can do it on one's own accord, or no.
I mean, devotional service, Krishna establishes, and Prabhupada writes in purports in Srimad Bhagavatam in many, many places, devotional service is always performed under instruction. But our instruction is never to the point where it would say, don't go and please a Vaishnava, serve a devotee. So I would find it hard to imagine, where we are rendering a service like that, where it doesn't fall within either a specific instruction or a broader instruction.
My question is, it may not be a service which may have been given to us, but out of our own accord, we would like to please a Vaishnava, and so is that not doesn't come under them, right? Or it goes against it?
Yeah, it's not against it. It's under a broader instruction. Right? A broader instruction would be to serve the Vaishnavas. Right? So that would be, again, we carry a practical limitation. Somebody didn't tell me to get this person a water, so I can't get this person a glass of water. Right? That's, again, not the practical
You have to
intent
use some
is.
rule of reason.
Well, it's in the context of, again, a broader instruction, which is, the Guru says, maintain very good relationships with all the devotees.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So that's,
And he says, and he'll say, and not just your god brothers and god sisters, but all devotees. We are all under Srila Prabhupada's family. This is not about my family. No. If you want to please me, the Guru will say, you serve my god brother's disciples more. Like, that's the mood, right? So we have some broad instructions already that that follow into that, that give us the opportunity to serve. But again, I can see examples where one is rationalized. I'm just making something up. Someone is cooking some things and taking boga from the Didi kitchen to serve some Vaishnavas. And now the Didi plate offering is short of boga. Right? So that can be a context where, I'm trying to serve the Vaishnavas, but in the context, I'm in my home and I'm doing that's one thing. Right? So again, it's kind of time, place, and circumstance. Certainly. Because again, in a temple environment, there are many, many different facets and activities. So we need some coordination. Right? Just like in a company, in an office place. You can't just go and use the company's resources to do whatever work you want. The resources are organized in a way to ultimately achieve, a common goal. So there needs to be coordination, right? So in those instances, so you can see, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say common sense, but a little bit of just basic, common sense we apply. And in certain circumstances, you don't need instruction to do something. Another time, I would need some instruction to do, so but the general principle, you hit on a good point, which is, by serving Vaishnavas, I can get a very, what I call tangible effect, and that's, very real, and that's why we serve Guru, for the learning of ultimately how to serve Krishna. That is an example.
We can use common sense and our intelligence.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
We
But
have
then
to.
we, at the same time, we are said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that at the same time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, right,
What?
that I'm a fool because I was told by my spiritual master to chant the holy name. So how do I take that in consideration?
That is his humility speaking when he was speaking to Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. That he said, my fool thought me to be my guru thought me to be a fool, so he told me to chant. But actually he is speaking with the most intelligence. Right? He was trying to shatter the pride So, again, one doesn't think themselves to be too smart that they've got it all figured out,
Yeah.
but one is expected to use the intelligence they have in and again, the most intelligent thing we can do is realize that I have no responsibility with my free will. I have misused my free will for millions of births and millions of lifetimes. So the most intelligent thing to do is to surrender our free will to Guru and say, you please tell me what to do, because I know when I make my decisions, I know the result. But that takes a level of acknowledgement of our historical journey. And that's what a surrendered soul is. So but it's the most intelligent. It's not the foolish. Oh, they're surrendering to Guru because they're foolish, they don't know what to do. Actually, it's the most intelligent. Because they know Maya is so captivating, so tempting. The illusion is so powerful that if I try to make my own, I don't know. So better I just surrender and you guide. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks to us about in the principles of Sharanagati. Surrender.
We talked about the animal killing, right? But on the other side, we have the plant killing too, right? In order to construct, for example, in order to construct this house, we would have taken out all the trees, all the plants, everything. Then would have brought all the wood from Home Depot, right? For which they have cut a ton of trees and built the house. So how different is that than the animal killing?
How different is very different. And the difference is that one, look, there's two dimensions of difference. So one is, if you go into a store and you steal a piece of bubble gum, or you go into a bank and rob, $1 million. Both are stealing. Is there a difference?
One's petty larceny and one's grand larceny.
There's a difference. Both are stealing, but there's a big difference, right? So in killing, yes, taking an apple from a tree is killing. And slitting the throat of a chicken is also killing. But the degree is very different. So there is sin, even in taking a plant. So what to do? That's why Krishna says in the 3rd chapter, 13th verse, you must do yajna. You must do sacrifice. If you don't offer the foods that you have eaten, even though they're vegetarian, there's sin. You're verily eating sin. So we're not vegetarians. We're prasadatarians. Because when we offer to Krishna, he takes the responsibility of all the reactions. Oh, then I can just offer whatever. No. Krishna says, Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, and Toyam. I accept those 4 things. Right? Building this house. Well, if my house is a temple for my sense enjoyment, then yes, you carry the reactions of that sin. If my house is a temple for beautiful Gornitai, now that's not sinful. So even in the mode of goodness, one is not free of sin. I made a subtle point on this earlier in the class. Because there's still some sin. Every breath we take, every step we take, sin. Driving here from wherever we came to here, how many living entities we killed? Lots. So the only way to become free from all those reactions is to have our whole life engaged in devotional service. Because then Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I deliver you from all the sinful reactions. Ma suchaha, don't fear. So yes, first dimension, there are gradations of sin. To become free from all gradations of sin, one must live a life of Krishna consciousness. It's the only way. Only way. Even living the most pious of pious lives, one is incurring sin. By taking the apple and the banana and the pear and the potato. If it's not offered to the Lord. So that is the only way to become truly free of all sinful reactions. Of course, one doesn't live a life of Krishna consciousness just to be free of their sins. One lives a life of Krishna consciousness recognizing this is my eternal occupation. This is actually why I was created in the first place. To be enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. But that is a collateral benefit. Make sense? Anything else? Stunned everybody silent. Okay, so then let us chant. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Koti Vaishnava Vrinda.
Jai.
Hare